Okay, you guys. So I know I just said I don't normally do guests for Jersey because it's so difficult to find people who align. And this is a little bit treacherous today. I had this person on Patreon, but I'm bringing her over here to the main feed. You may know her from Instagram. Her handle is Bravo and Botox. She's anonymous, so we are not going to be revealing her face or her real name. I know it, though. You'll never guess it. She is rather outspoken about her views, so I'm going to let her run free today. And if you get mad, you can get mad at her. You can go off in the comments. But we do align pretty much for the most part on most of our opinions. And this episode in particular, I feel like we're going to be pretty bang on. I feel like there's almost nothing that we cannot agree on.
I agree.
Right. So please welcome Bravo and Botox. Hey, girl.
Hello. I'm so happy to be back. And I feel this extra, I don't know, something because it's the free one. It's not the Patreon, which right? I was saying to my followers, I lost my, podcast virginity on the Patreon because I'd never been on a podcast before. But I'm glad it was on the Patreon because it was like a good way to get my feet wet.
It's like it feels a little safer when you're behind a paywall.
It does. So I'm excited.
But now you're free. Now you are exposed.
I'm exposed.
Exposed.
Especially with Jersey, which is...
Jersey's the most volatile. It is. This fandom is scary. Here at She Speaks Bravo, we believe that Bravo TV is a great form of self-care and therapy. Look at me. I've been using it for over a decade, and I am a complete mess. That's me, by the way. I'm Emily, and I'm your host on this journey.
What is this, honey?
I love that.
If you're not already subscribed, get subscribed and hit that notification bell because I'm releasing new episodes at least 3 times a week.
You fool.
That's my opinion!
I talk Bravo, I talk true crime, and sometimes I talk a little scripted. So whatever you're here for, I hope you enjoy the show. So what I do with all my guests, which you may already know, is I go through the cast.
Okay.
And I'll ask for your take on them, even though I pretty much already know them.
Okay.
But, not everyone does. So here we go. We're going to start with Marge.
How long is this podcast? No, I'm just joking. Marge I'm not a fan at all. She's probably one of my least favorite housewives ever. I just think she's manipulative. I think everything she does is extremely calculated. And it's all done for whatever's going to keep her on the show the longest. I think her keeping that position is more important to her than anyone else. And I just feel like she's a sneaky one. You have to keep your eye on her always.
Teresa.
Well, okay. So I need to clear something up, especially for the people listening who follow my account, because they're like, oh, we know you love Teresa so much. I do really like Teresa, but I don't think I'm as much of a Teresa stan as people think I am. And I said this on the Patreon too. I'm more of a Melissa hater. And I think
we don't need to cover your take on Melissa.
No, Melissa, I think Melissa, I actually think I don't think she's like a bad person. I think she's just got so caught up in this fame thing. And I really think she's the type who she saw her sister-in-law on this show and she thought, well, why not me? And I really think that she looked at her sister-in-law and thought, I'm prettier than her. I'm cooler than her. My husband is funnier than hers. Why aren't I on the show? Right? Like that's why I've always had an issue with Melissa, because I don't think it came from a place of, oh, I just also want to be famous along with my sister-in-law. I really think it came from a competitive place. And I really think that, look, she's so into how she looks and how she presents herself. So that's why I've never been a big fan. I like Teresa, and let me say why. Because she doesn't know how to not be authentic. she's just not smart enough. And
I was going to say, it's almost like because she's
I'm
too
sorry.
stupid.
It's true. And I feel so bad saying that because I really do like her, but I don't think that she is cunning or manipulative or calculative enough. That's why she has been the villain for so long, because she hasn't been watching the show. She hasn't been going on social media and giving all her takes until this season. And that's why Melissa and Joe have been able to get away with it for so long, because they're not that cunning either. They're just lucky that they're smarter than their opponent, and that their opponent was, I think Teresa's number one goal in life was pleasing her parents. And,
That's a good point.
Yeah, for the longest time they were around. So she was like, whatever, I just won't watch the show. I'm going to keep the peace and go on. Teresa is flawed. She says things she shouldn't say. She has a short temper. I don't always agree with everything she says and does. However, she's who she is, flaws and all. And she's funny without meaning to be funny. And she's just a likable reality TV character. And that's it. And there's a reason she's still going.
Dolores.
Oh, Dolores. I hate Dolores and I love Dolores, but I mostly love Dolores. I only hate her because I don't actually hate her, by the way. I shouldn't use that word. Sometimes Dolores, I look at it and I'm like, okay, she's a friend to everyone and a friend to no one. So that's the only thing I don't like about her, is sometimes I wish she would take sides a little bit more. So I would say that's my only critique, but overall I love her. I think she's hilarious. I think she's gorgeous. I think she's like one of the hottest Bravo celebrities.
Totally.
And her ass looks amazing. I also think she's just like that staple in Jersey that I want around.
I know,
but
right?
It's like, I love her, but sometimes she annoys me so much when she rides the fence so hard. However, you know what? At the end of the day, I still like her. I just can't help it.
Yeah.
And I think I always will. I could see how I do see a lot of people think she should be a friend of. Yes. I get it. However, I'm kind of more interested now that Polly's around.
This season has changed. Like, she needed Polly. She needed to change it up.
I love that she has him and that she's happy. I've always wanted to see her happy with a guy that really made her happy, and I'm happy for her.
Totally. And now finally, Jen.
Love Jen. Jen is a all-star housewife. Whether you like Jen or not, every fan has to acknowledge that Jen is a good housewife. She does her job well. She's authentic. She shares her family, the good, the bad, the ugly. Like the stuff with her parents, the stuff with her brother coming out as gay and her telling her children, just everything. She has shared so much. And the way that she responded when Marge outed the affair, you can't not respect that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. She handled that so well.
And a lot of other housewives, and by others, I mean Marge, Jackie,
and by
Melissa,
others, I mean Marge.
Marge, Jackie, Melissa, they would never share that. Look at Jackie when the rumors about Evan came out. It was a complete gong show.
She melted down.
She melted down the whole season. It never ended.
They were at one point you hear Melissa going, Teresa, can you just come in here and put her out of her misery and tell her it's over? She's like, she can't handle this.
She can't. She's not made for it. Jen is made for this. She knows what she's doing. I get why some people don't like her, but I don't care. I love Jen.
Yeah.
Love Jen. Sorry.
Yeah. Jen, this episode,
love me some Jen,
brought me back to all the stuff I love about Jen. We're off the fight because I hate the fight with Dolores. I really do. I'm happy we got off that this episode and got to.
Oh my God, I felt like my parents were getting a divorce. I hated it.
But this episode was like, let's just get it. Should we just get into it?
I think we should.
Let's just get into it. Okay, so we get to Teresa in therapy for me is heaven.
I love it.
I'm obsessed with Teresa in therapy.
Ugh.
She's been in therapy for 6 months. By the way, love her new confessional look in the purple.
Yes, me too. It's way better than the other one.
Agreed. She looks, the makeup's on point. She looks
the other one was she was a little too orange in that other one. I don't know if it was the lighting, but this one looks much better.
Lighting in confessionals is key. And it's also very, one of Jen's, the confessional look that we get when she's in the therapy session, it's the same look, but it's 2 different lighting setups.
Right.
So the lighting is always a little bit off.
Yes.
But she's been in therapy for 6 months. And so in her confessional, she goes, I didn't like the way I reacted towards Margaret. And they flash back to this amazing compilation of her being like, you stupid bitch. And then it's Louie whispering in her ear, like, you're going to regret the way you're acting. Trust me. And she's like hearing it going like, no. Like, she's like, I'm not stopping. And then it cuts back to her confessional. She's like, even though I felt like that was valid. And then she goes again. She goes, I guess my delivery isn't always, the way it should be. And then they go back again to her flipping the table. I just there
are so many good blow up moments. And here's the thing. That's one of those things that the Teresa haters will say about her. But God, is that not why we love watching her? Because she might be like, piece of shit, coke whore, and then like throw the chair. I'm not saying the violence is okay. It's never okay. I'm just saying that is what brought her to relevancy, if we're being honest about it.
I also just like that now in her current state, she's like, I guess maybe that's not the best way to talk to people.
Well, I thought the other funny thing that she said was, I never wanted to go to therapy because I just thought I could deal with it myself. And I was like, that's so Teresa.
So Teresa.
She thinks that. Yeah. She, of course, would think that Teresa knows
fixing
best.
Myself.
Don't worry. I can do it. Don't worry.
I got it.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. But she's talking, like, I never thought that her perspective on her brother is that he's scary. Like,
yeah, I was surprised at that too.
Yeah, but that also then I never thought that this therapist would be like, maybe that comes from your dad. Your dad's anger and short temper is that triggers Joe triggers that in you. And I'm like, well, look at us figuring stuff out.
Right. And I know there's going to be people who would say, oh, well, Teresa's blows up too and throws a chair and flips a table.
And that's valid.
But you can still feel fear of someone else, even though you have that capacity. That's, they don't have to be separate. The other thing is that I did listen to one of her first podcasts, the Namaste Bitches, one of the first episodes, just because I was interested to see what she thought about the show. This was when she first started watching it. And one thing she said about her father was that, like, when he got mad, they were all petrified.
Yeah.
Like, it was like the way she described it wasn't like anything I've seen on the show. Like, she was like, this was scary, petrifying as a child, for a young child. So I can see how, maybe the way that Joe sounds and his voice and his mannerisms, like all these things that we as viewers probably don't pick up on, probably remind her of the way that her father would speak and do things. You know what I mean? So I could see where that, I thought that was a really interesting thing to see.
Yeah. And that she made Gia say, I love you to Nono.
Yeah.
And that's what made them soften and start saying, I love you. So it's like the Nono that we came to love was not what she grew up with. It was just not at all the same person. And also it really it paints a different picture of how dedicated and devoted Teresa was to her dad, who wasn't this just loving, sweet figure her whole life. He was actually a scary figure for her, but we knew him as someone that was so sweet and cute. Right. It's like it just really, it paints a whole different type of upbringing behind it.
It does. It absolutely does.
And I think Joe was like the golden boy and probably very spoiled and coddled, and Teresa wasn't. Teresa was like the one who had to be dutiful, and it just gives a lot more context to things.
Well, that's the Italian family. It just
totally
is.
Yeah.
The youngest boy, and if you've ever watched The Sopranos, like that's one of the ongoing.
Totally.
I mean, it is. That's one of the ongoing storylines is about the youngest son and how he loses his way because he's the prince and because he's not treated maybe the way that you should discipline a child. And I can not even tell you how many DMs I have from people being like, yep, that's the way it is in my family too. We're Italian, It's just, I completely relate to this. So I see that.
Yeah. And how do we feel about Antonia not going to Melania's Sweet 16? All the other cousins went.
I know. That's
Every
a tough
cousin
one.
on Joe Giudice's side went. And Antonia didn't go because she had cheer.
Okay, so here's my thinking. If you look at it objectively, a lot of people, and I already saw this on Twitter, a lot of people are like, she had a competition. You have an obligation. You can't let the team down. Maybe it was one of those things. She could not miss it. That's possible. However,
Oh, it was a cheer competition?
I
thought they said practice. I'm beg your pardon.
I don't know. I don't know. I thought it was competition.
I thought it was. If it was a competition, I will say that you can't miss that. As someone who did cheer in middle school, which isn't that, it's not that big a deal. I get it. But I remember how intense that was. We lost and it was fucked up because.
Okay, so we need to know if for sure, because I don't know which one it is. And I can't remember exactly what Teresa said, but what I do know is that then there were other people saying Melissa would maybe make that up as an excuse. Now that's where I could see Teresa thinking or not trusting Melissa that she actually had a competition, because Melissa maybe just felt awkward or just wanted to, fuel the fire. So they have this storyline on the show. So it's really hard to know because, we need to know the truth. And I don't know if we're going to get it. Maybe not till the reunion.
Maybe not till the reunion.
Yeah, we might have to wait till the reunion.
All right. Well, wait. We'll put a pin in it.
Yes, we're going to pin that one. But if she did just miss it because of Melissa, then that really sucks.
Yeah, especially because they were so cute when they were friends as little kids.
They're the
I love
cutest.
the flashback when they were little cute friends together. They were so adorable.
And Melania is like my favorite.
I feel Melania to me is literally like a little gangster. She always in my head has like a little switchblade in her hand.
She does.
And she's always like, "What'd you fucking say?"
And she really reminds me of her dad. Just her mannerisms.
Everything.
Like, it's like when she did that thing with her hands to say,
yeah.
I live for that. I live for that.
I never thought I'd say this, but Olive and June has officially converted me to an at-home nail gal. I have not been to the nail salon since I partnered with them. I've saved hundreds. Probably like as soon as I'm done recording for the day, I'm going to throw another set of pressies on. That's what we call them here at Olive and June. Okay. We call them the press on nails. We call them pressies. Okay. But the thing that they're the most known for is their Olive and June Mani system. It's everything you need for a salon quality manicure in one box. You can customize it with up to 6 polishes. This polish does not chip. It lasts up to 7 days or more. And when you think about it, that breaks down to $2 a manicure. That's insane to me. Olive and June factors in the health of your nails. At a nail salon, the way they take off a gel set, it's like they want to hurt your hands and they don't care at all about the damage they're causing. And I know some of you are saying, I would love to do my nails at home, but I can't do whatever your non-dominant hand is. Well, you haven't met the applicator yet. The poppy, that's what they call it. The shape of it, a kid could use it. I don't recommend letting your kid use it, but a kid could use it. But now, see, remember, I'm a press-on nail girl because I would go to the salon for the Gel X set. I don't have time to go to the salon anymore. I'm putting out more episodes than ever. I barely have time to run an errand. Oh, that reminds me, I have to. Okay, see? Barely have time to get anything done. So I don't have time to go sit in a salon, and my guy was always running late anyway. These press-ons look just like a Gel X set. They are a fraction of the cost, and these do not damage my nails to the point where I'm still recovering. With the press-on sets, they actually come with the nail strengthener that you put on your nails before you put the glue and before you put the press-ons. They are not, they love your nails at Olive and June, unlike nail salons where I feel like they kind of hate your nails. They just want you in, they want you out. And you have a manicure in less than 10 minutes. So visit oliveandjune.com/ssbravo for 20% off your first Manny system. That's oliveandjune.com/ssbravo for 20% off your Manny system. All right, let's go to Marge's house and her post-surgery fancy robe. Jen Fessler comes over. Did you notice Marge had the coffee mate creamers out because now she thinks that's like her thing?
Oh, no, I didn't notice that.
Because do you remember? Because last season I was blown away that she busted out the Snickers coffee mate creamer when she went to meet Jen for coffee. And I was like, hold on, do they have that there? Did she bring that in her purse? It's a full-size coffee. And then everyone else picked up on it. And now I think she had like a sponsorship with Coffee Mate Creamer. So, of course, she had to have two different. I think she had Snickers and I don't remember what the fuck else it was.
She's trying to make it into a personality trait.
Now it's her.
It's not working.
Marge, get out of here.
Like when Sheree does it with the Lay's chips, it's cute. But Marge is not.
That for a second.
Sheree is endearing when Sheree's like, I've got my little chip.
She's like, I've been eating a lot of chips.
Yeah, but when Marge does it, it's not endearing.
No. But now, okay, so they do the thing where it's going to be the parallel scenes going. So it's Jen and Bill. They're going to be talking about it while Fessler and Marge are talking about it. Jen does not want Bill to be that nice to Marge because of what happened at Fessler's house. And she tells, this is where I get where Jen gets frustrated with Bill because she tells Bill, she called me a disheveled drug addict.
Which is so wild.
And he's just like, doesn't flinch. I'm like, that is crazy. And this is where Jen always wins because she puts a pizzazz and a flair on being a housewife. She's like, this is not disheveled, baby. This is a shampoo commercial.
Yeah, exactly.
And he has no response. He's just like, And then she goes, you're just an albino with a wig. Sorry.
Sorry, that was funny.
She's funny at it.
She's fast. She's
how much
quick.
do we love her admitting she smokes pot?
I love it. I love it. And I'm not even like, I don't even smoke pot because it's just not my thing. But I love it because
she just says, she's like, it's after my children go to sleep. She has 5 children.
I have 1 and I'm struggling. So if she has 5, then good for you. Do whatever you got to do to have that little downtime at night. And it's legal. So it's legal in New Jersey, right? Okay. In Canada, it's legal. It's not a big deal. There's a weed store down the street from my house. It's real. Like, this is what I don't understand. It's so crazy to me that Marge would even try to make this into a thing. I really don't get it. It's very Karen of her.
How much did we love when Jennifer goes, who needs a Karen when you got a Margaret?
Yeah, it's true.
Line. It's these lines. they roll off her tongue. She's so.
I have trouble figuring out who Marge is because
tell me about it.
Yeah, so this is my issue. She acts like she's so progressive with sexuality and feminism, but then in other ways, it's the complete opposite. Like with this weed thing, and her commentary about people drinking. Like, yes, I get it. Some people might go overboard or have a problem, but and I get we were seeing Jen going overboard, but she was like, okay, Bill and I are going out and we're going to have a night. We got someone watching the kids. We're going to go wild tonight. And Bill does it too. Yeah. And I don't see Marge saying anything to other people.
It's almost more proof that they don't really drink. And when they do drink, they drink like high schoolers that don't know how to drink. You know what I mean?
That's exactly how I've always taken it. I do not think that either of them are alcoholics or anything like that.
And I also want to point out that we applaud the men when they come back from guys' night being so drunk they're throwing up, passing out, falling over.
Oh, yeah. It's so funny when everyone carried Bill over their shoulders. Like they carried him into the reunion and everyone clapped.
Even Marge's own husband, Joe B, was puking by a tree. And it was hilarious to her. I'm like, that's what Jen's doing. So it's very double standard.
I think Jen gets the most unfair treatment on this show, but anyway,
very much.
Save that for later.
Very much. But Jen, she's like, Margaret has this habit of taking anything negative and throwing it in my face without any regard for how it's going to affect my life. She did it with Bill's affair, and now you're doing it to me again. So you're either not thinking of my kids or you're just plain stupid. Facts. Facts on facts on facts.
Facts on facts on facts.
And I don't see Jen going out of her way to, this is kind of what I said last season, though. I don't see Jen going out of her way to dig up stuff on Marge, but I kind of wish they would. I just,
she is now.
Well, that's what Laura, Marge's friend, is doing for them. Laura's like, listen, you guys aren't playing offense. I'll do it for you, and I'm going to have a meeting with you guys and tell you all the shit that Marge has been saying. Because I kept saying last season, I'm like, why are you guys not going after Marge? There's got to be some enemy of Marge's there in wherever the fuck you guys live. Come on.
Well, I think, okay, so Marge reminds me of Phaedra. Let me explain why. I think that the two of them are okay with playing dirty. And I mean like dirty. So do you remember when Nene lectured Phaedra and she was like, you would contact, my ex, whoever it was, relative of Nene's, to try and get dirt on me. And Nene called her out at the reunion. And I do think Phaedra backed down a little bit after that, but then she ended up, going all the way with Candy with that whole lie. But I see Marge as a similar type of character in that she's willing to do things that other cast members just wouldn't even think of. Right? Like, I think if some sort of gossip or something landed on Jen's plate, i.e. the Jackie thing with Evan, if those kind of things land on Teresa's plate or Jen's plate or whoever, they'll run with it and they will try to maybe find more information, which I think they're all guilty of. But I think Marge really puts the effort in.
Yeah.
Jackie said, and Dolores, all of them.
Jackie said that.
Jackie said it. They're up. She's up with her coffee and her Snickers, whatever, coffee mate. And she's calling around, like, she digs and digs. And I get why Jen and Teresa, like, they maybe just, they're just kind of living their lives, not thinking of that. But they might need to. So it's kind of good maybe that they met up with Marge's friend, because she deserves a taste of her own medicine.
Yeah, no, that, like, last season when Jackie confirmed it, Jackie is Marge's friend. And when she said, I know how Marge operates, I could probably pull the footage of me saying, someone needs to go on the offense with Marge next season, guys. Because you're not, you're letting her do it season after season. And it was
at the tree climbing thing, right?
Yeah. I was like, why is nobody...
They said it in the after show too. Jackie went on about it in the after show. So now we have Dolores said it. Jackie said it. Melissa said it too.
Yes.
In another interview. So
yes.
It's just ridiculous.
I feel so validated right now because my memory isn't always as good. And so I'm glad someone else is here that can remember this, because I thought I was going crazy. I was like, didn't Melissa say that?
No. And
Melissa did say it. Okay.
She did. It was all over Twitter last night too. Some people had pulled the interview. I'll try to find it. Ooh. But that was one of the most, I was looking through the tweets. It was one of the most common ones. What's the big deal? Melissa, Dolores, and Jackie all said this. Why is everyone making such a big deal about it? I was like, good. I'm glad people remember.
I've been off the in social media today, so I feel I'm like so happy that's going around. Okay, so see?
Yes, exactly. See, Marge,
God
little Miss
damn it.
Gossipy.
Marge's house, we got Fessler there, and Marge is kind of disappointed. You can see that Jen isn't mad at Fessler for throwing her out. She's like, is Jen mad at you for throwing you out? And Fessler's like, no, actually, she texts me. And Marge is like, oh, fuck. That was kind of my plan. You could tell she's like, all right, I was sort of hoping that. Yep. And so Fessler reads the text from Jen and is like, sorry, but your friend kept poking at me.
Which is accurate.
Hello. She was ruthless. And Marge is like, such a fucking loser.
Oh Marge's my God, it's so harsh.
She gets a face that is, I'm sorry, it's like, it's mean. It's evil.
It is.
It's like, it's so nasty.
When Jen throws her insults, they're at least funny and witty. And they sort of have like a lightheartedness to them. Sometimes they don't. And she goes
sometimes
far.
They don't. Exactly. There's always agree. There's one in there, but like driving Miss Daisy hat. I'm sorry. Like, that's funny.
The craziest part of that was when Marge looked at her and goes, you're sick. I was like, for that? She might be sick for other things, she said. But why is she sick for the driving Miss Daisy hat? That was so not a big deal.
And this is what bums me out because like on Atlanta, when they throw those things back and forth,
right?
It would have been like a quick comeback. It would have been
exactly, and no one would have cared.
Marge goes to such a like dark place with it. But even Fessler is like, Marge, you were acting like a 16-year-old. And she's just like chomping on whatever the hell. She's like, did you hear what she said? I don't care. And she doesn't have any remorse. She doesn't care. She thinks that because Jen has an opinion of Marge that's not favorable, or the opinion that she wants to control in the group, she thinks she can talk to her however she wants. And Jen is now convinced. She's like, I think everyone's afraid of Margaret. And I was disappointed in Dolores, I will say. In hindsight, I'm like, she didn't say a word to Marge. She didn't say like, Marge, okay, you can knock it off. And she didn't tell Jen to knock it off. So I could see Jen being like, Dolores just sat there, let her say whatever. And then when Marge got up to leave, that's when Dolores was like, Jen, stop. And I could see her being like, see, no one's saying a word to Marge to stop, but I have to stop.
It makes me sad.
It might be like a knee-jerk reaction, though. It might just be like you just wanted to end, and like she was the last one talking, maybe because Marge was leaving. So I don't know.
Dolores is still mad at Jen.
Yeah, there's an element of that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the main reason. Like she's still like, what do I care? Because Jen has been calling me a bad friend, and we know that Dolores hates that. And that was what, like, you know, I know this is going back, but I did see why Dolores was so bothered, because Dolores did stand up for Jen. She did. I love Jen, but she needed to take it down a notch with that fight. But I also saw Jen's side to a point, because I think Jen wanted a stronger team, and Dolores doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So I feel I have sort of like a connection to Jen in that way, because I like when people have like a strong team and opinion. But then at the same time, I'm like, no, I should be more like Dolores. Like I should be less, you know, trying to kind of be in the middle a little bit more. Right.
Yeah.
So I could see both sides of that. But I did think, you know, Jen needed to give Dolores a little more grace with that.
Yeah. Fessler, she's like, Marge, she's like, because this is what's tough when you come into a show, the person who brings you in is acting up like this. So I love her trying to be like, oh, come on, Marge, maybe you could not be an asshole. We are on camera and I am aligned with you. And Marge is like, no, I know I said awful things, but you know what? She asked for it. And Fessler goes, Marge, that's not nice. Please, God, just give me one soundbite where you say you're going to apologize so they don't clip this together and make me look like I'm aligned with a bad person.
Well, Marge has a plan, and it's to discredit Jennifer as much as possible by saying she's crazy, she's a drug addict, she's unhinged, her marriage is bad. However, that's worked for her. It really has, because, you know, I'm on Twitter last night, and a lot of people have that opinion. Oh, Jen is unhinged. She's like a little barking dog. She doesn't know when to shut up. People saying that. So it's been working. So I kind of understand why Marge is trying to keep going with it, because she's like, well, sorry, Jen Fessler. Is that her name? Jen Fessler, right? Yes.
Fessler, yeah.
Yeah. She's like, I'm sorry. I'm going to keep going because this has been working for me so far.
I find it interesting that people don't experience Marge the way I do, because when I look at Marge, I'm just like, God, you guys don't recoil when you see her talking like that? Because I recoil.
I think now more people are, because as much as I saw those reactions to Jen, they weren't necessarily in support of Marge. They were more just, Jen can be annoying too, but there was a lot of Marge hate. A lot, because people are sick of it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad people are sick of it, because for a while people were like, oh, she's kooky. She brings this to the show. And I'm like, no, she doesn't. Everything she does, from giving Teresa that wreath for her mother, that was calculated. I'm sorry. I know it was like a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
And I wanted to cry, because every time Teresa talks about her parents, I want to cry. However, I really think Marge used it to get in with Teresa, because she knew that was a surefire way to stay on the show. And then, you know, she dumped Siggy. She And don't get me wrong, Siggy's
and like
a psychopath.
exactly like we don't need to clarify that we know Siggy's not the
Right.
best, but like
Here's
that's
the thing,
who brought her on the show.
Right. And all the friends that Marge has dumped have been kind of crazy, like Danielle Staub, etc. So that's why she gets away with it. But if you actually look, she is willing to run people over left, right, and center.
As soon as you cross her, she goes all the way.
Mm-hmm. She's
all
done.
the way.
Yep.
All right. Dolores at Polly's. Apparently she fell in the shower and her ass saved her the night before, which I would have given. I would pay money to see.
I could see that, and I could see it looks so like bouncy. I just could see it. I imagined her like a cartoon, just like boing.
Yeah, because the way he's like, you went down, it went like came back up. Her dad comes over with a bottle of Coke.
I love him.
He goes, I didn't want to put yous out. He says use. He doesn't say you ever. He says use, and there's no you in his vocabulary.
So when I was young, I told you this on the Patreon, but I went to, a Catholic school and everyone was Italian, etc. And it just warmed my heart because all my friends' dads used to be like, use. They were like, are yous girls going to go play? And we'd be like, yeah, so when I saw him say that, I was like, I just love him. And I love Dolores's mom, her children. I love them all.
I know. It's just,
they're all amazing.
I love that Polly won him over too. He loves Polly. I was very worried about that, but he loves Polly because Polly has made it clear he wants to be, he's not dating to date. He's dating for the future. And turns out Polly has to go in for a heart procedure though, which is scary, but it turns out he's not too scared about it.
Okay.
They go on a little dog walk though, Dolores and the dad, and I'm living for her dad saying, you got to set boundaries with Frank. Yep. I'm like, I didn't even know he would know that word or that term. I know.
I was surprised too. I was like, did they rehearse this ahead of time? But it seemed authentic.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. Well, maybe because he knows that Frank is always weaseling his way in there.
Well, and okay, like I was happy to hear too, because when her dad goes, you drove the bus on your own for a lot of those years, and they flash back to that moment that we all were shocked by when Dolores was telling her parents, like, there were times, where things were getting broke and there was screaming and broken furniture. We were like, hold on. Mm-hmm. I don't think any of us realized it had been like that. It was a shock to me. I mean, now it's like sunk in, but I was like, say what?
I kind of always thought, if I'm being honest, that there was some maybe physical stuff happening just because there was always talk about like steroids and the fitness thing. So I had some suspicions, and I don't know. There was something she said in an earlier season that gave me a clue of that. I'd have to go back to find it. But, I really think that Dolores, like a lot of the, Italian daughters, like what we were saying, just put everything aside that was for her and did everything for everyone else, and excused a lot with Frank. And I think the audience has excused him a lot too, because he's a funny TV character. He's entertaining, and I don't want him off the show. I'm going to be honest, because I get people in my comments, if I criticize Frank, if I put a tweet that criticizes him, no, I want Frank. And I'm like, no. I'm not saying he should be gone, but not at the expense of Dolores's happiness.
Yeah. Well, and just Frank is on the show just like everyone else and should be criticized appropriately and answer to his faults like all of them do, like everyone does. And
he's never really had to.
No, exactly. Yep. And he's I hope he gets it at the reunion I hope they do like, hey, viewer feedback has been, and he has to answer to it a bit.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, so I've had a problem with the editors, and I'm going to really have a bone to pick with them again, because they replay the exact same confessional quote that they already used of Dolores saying, "My family's always been my 100% priority, and Frank, whether he deserved it or not."
Yes, we saw that already.
Used it. I have such an issue with the editing on the show. It's clunky. That's not cohesive enough on Jersey. They did it. They did this is the third season in a row I've noticed it, where like this episode too, it's like they don't quite, I don't think they storyboard the season properly.
Do you think someone's just winging it?
Yes.
Yeah, that is how it feels. I saw another Real Housewives of New Jersey Bravo account. One of the big ones. And they were talking about the editing too. And it was right after I heard you say something about it, maybe on your last recap. And I was like, now that everyone's pointing it out, I'm like, this is why the episode seems so disjointed. Because there's just the flow is not there, especially when you sit down and then you watch another show like Miami.
Yes.
Or even like Vanderpump Rules or whatever. You're like, oh, yes, this is how it's supposed to be.
Yes. It's like they kind of just throw it. They're like, what's this episode going to be about, huh? Okay. Like, guys.
Yeah, it's like Joe Giudice is doing the edit. What are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it, huh? And then it's like a surprise every time they sit down. They're like, ooh, fun idea. It's like, no, start from the beginning. Yes. Figure out what you want to do. God, guys, seriously.
It's crazy.
So I am a big supplement gal. I have been for years. And when I tell people that, they're like, what should I be taking? And I'm like, I don't know. So I always refer them to Care Of. And the reason is because Care Of gives you a quiz. You take this in-depth short quiz and you get a personalized doctor-backed recommendation that covers the areas you need specific to yourself. It goes over your lifestyle and your health goals, like what are your eating habits? How often do you work out? Like just things that it comes up with what you need specifically. Like I'm maybe not so great with the veggie intake, so I have a multivitamin and like an iron supplement because I lack that in my nutrition. And Care Of is a subscription service, so every month you get high quality, personalized vitamins, supplements, powders, conveniently delivered right to you. Another really great thing is they come in these daily vitamin packs. And when I first got Care Of a while ago, I was like, wait, this is plastic. I don't want to have a bunch of plastic. No, these are plant-based compostable film. So you don't have to stress about your impact on the environment. And I think that's really cool. Each shipment comes with a very important pamphlet showing you exactly what your individual pack has. So in case anyone asks you, what do you take? Like I take a prebiotic for my gut and my immune health. I have a fish oil in here for my heart health. It's just, I've always been a supplement gal, and now you can too with Care Of. Another really fun thing is Care Of has an app. So you can track your progress and like, oh, I'm feeling better today. Oh, whatever. And you earn points. So you can get discounts and merch. And they have the best branding too. So the merch is cool. I love a good branding. All of that. For 50% off your first Care Of order, go to takecareof.com and enter code SheSpeaks50. One more time, guys. For 50% off your first Care Of order, go to takecareof.com and enter code SheSpeaks50. As you know, I love my cats, and when they are healthy, they're happy. And obviously that makes me happy. But since I'm not a mind reader, even though I'm pretty convinced I can speak their language, I don't always know when they're healthy. So helping me know that my cats are healthy is just one reason I use Pretty Litter. Pretty Litter's ultra-absorbent crystals trap odor instantly, so there's no more of that cat bathroom smell. Also, they're really lightweight. So if you've ever used traditional clumping litter, it can be really heavy. And yes, I've used the other lightweight clumping litter, but it doesn't work. Pretty Litter's super light crystal base also minimizes that mess and dust that you get when you scoop all up in your face. Plus, the crystals last up to a month, which means less scooping and fewer trips to the garbage can. Here's the coolest thing about Pretty Litter. It changes colors to help detect early signs of potential illness in my cats, including urinary tract infections and kidney issues. I just took Tiger to the vet to get all of her labs done because she's a little overweight and I was worried there was some sort of thyroid problem. But no, she's just fat. But now I would have an answer for the vet because I wasn't using Pretty Litter at the time. And the vet was like, hey, how's her urine? I'm like, I don't know. But now I'd be able to tell them because Pretty Litter tracks if there's blood, if it's abnormal, if it's normal, etc. So thank you, Pretty Litter. Pretty Litter also ships free to my door in a small, lightweight bag, and I never run out of it. And I don't have this huge container of litter just taking up space and stinking up my house. Pretty Litter helps keep my cat healthy and keeps odors down. You and your cat are going to love Pretty Litter as much as we do. Go to prettylitter.com/she-speaks to save 20% on your first order. That's prettylitter.com/she-speaks to save 20%. prettylitter.com/she-speaks. All right, the batting cages with Rachel, Melissa, Frank.
Listen, I was nervous because there's a lot of nose jobs, like Melissa said.
I was too.
Because her and Rachel.
Yes.
I was like, oh no.
I know,
like
totally.
Those things, the balls were coming fast.
I'm actually shocked that there's a batting place that allows drinking and batting and going in a batting cage.
Yeah, and they weren't wearing the protective masks, which you usually see people wearing those when they go into batting cages. So I was like, maybe they just made an exception for filming.
Right. But I was like, wow. So you let people have some wine and then just go on in there and
yeah, that was wild.
That
was wild.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
But then Frank's, here's what's bugging me. Frank's storyline is Paulie.
Yep.
And that's disrespectful to Dolores, in my opinion.
Yep.
So your storyline, because you're so desperate to be on this show, which you've kind of popped up out of nowhere in Dolores's life, is suddenly being so devoted. I'm not trying to, I know people think I hate Frank. Actually, I kind of hate the way he treated her.
That's fair. I hate the way he treated her too.
Yeah. And so I love that she's so devoted, but he's like, this is my first time in the same room with Paulie. I'm like, no, it's not.
And even if it is, get over it.
Yeah.
Your ex-wife is happy.
Dude.
And what do you want her to, like, you have your woman. She's right here. We're looking at, and she's exactly what I would expect from Frank's girlfriend, by the way. Exactly. I'm just saying, that's all I'm going to say. That's just, if I had to make up Frank's girlfriend in my mind, she would be what would come out. Like that would be the, like if I had to like paint her and put her together, like that's just exactly what she would look like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Gorga, I was surprised that Joe tried to explain it in somewhat of a compassionate way and like somewhat sensitive. He was like it's not going to be like it was with David, because David was not there for Dolores, but was like super there for you.
Yeah,
now
that was
Paulie's
so weird.
Actually there, right? Now actually Paulie's there for Dolores, and not for you. And instead of Frank hearing that, and because to me that should equal, I know you're right, I should back off. He goes, but it's affecting our family dynamic.
Well, maybe your family dynamic needs changing.
What fucking family dynamic are you talking about? It's just changing the amount that she talks to you.
Exactly.
She's still there for her children. Her kids are fine. I'm irritated that he's turning this into his soundbite, his storyline. Whenever he goes into a confessional, that's what he's talking about.
And I think Dolores is handling it very well.
Yes,
because
agreed.
I don't think that she co-signed this. And I do think,
agreed.
Yeah, and I do think that he's just doing it and running with it. And then the cameras come up and she has to deal with it while the camera's in her face. She's handling it really well.
100%.
Yeah, and she has to handle the fact that the audience, a lot of the audience does love Frank, right? So she probably knows, okay, I can't win this battle because people do like Frank. So I have this delicate balance between, slowly wanting to introduce my new boyfriend to the audience, but also I got to deal with this guy who just won't really go away. Not that she wants him to go away 100%, but just, to give that space and to not make this a storyline.
She's like, I don't want to be the bad guy. And have people be like, you're being so mean to Frank, but it's not, he shouldn't even be giving me shit for this.
No, he really shouldn't. He should not.
And then in his confessional, he's like, I always considered myself a good father. And I'm like, Dolores has told some stories, dude.
You weren't even there.
You never lived with the kids and Dolores at the same, huh?
Your kids call you Frank.
Like,
They don't call him dad, or they never have, apparently. Didn't they say that? I'm pretty sure they said that.
I can't. And he's like, but Frank, I regret not being a good husband. I regret that.
He's the one who said he was out with women instead of parents. He said that straight from the horse's mouth.
He's just creating a narrative this season because he doesn't want to be left out. He doesn't want to. He's like, shit, if I'm not like Dolores's like kind of husband, but not really person, what am I? On the show.
And I can understand, like, he probably has had so much fun on the show because him and the guys, they're funny. They have a good chemistry. They bounce jokes off of one another. So I get that he's like, I don't want that to end. Like, I get that on a human level.
It's also a form of income for him.
Exactly. Which clearly he needs. So,
because like, he lives with David.
Where is your house?
Where's your house, sir?
Can I ask another question? Why is Frank always in the hospital?
Good point.
Because
he's always in the hospital.
I thought, wasn't his one where he was in the hospital where David was taking care of him? Wasn't it something about like both his legs being broken or something like that?
Was that it?
I don't know. I need to go back and look, but I've heard things. That's all I'm going to say. That I just, yeah.
We'll talk offline.
Yes, we'll talk offline. But it's suspicious. Offline. Even Joe Gorga was like, why are you always in the hospital? Do you notice they never say?
You're right. They just allude to things.
They allude to something was so I'm like, is this guy getting into fights? Like, what's going on?
People are threatening him because he owes them money.
That's kind of what I think.
I was like, is that what you're okay? Got
I don't want to say it because I don't know it for a fact. So not even allegedly, just gossipy, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
It kind of seems that way.
I completely forgot he's frequently in the hospital.
I know, it's crazy.
Forgot about that.
Anyway, sorry.
All right, now they do the batting cages moment, but now they're like sitting down, and Melissa brings up Jennifer throwing in her face what Marge says about how she could be with the ball player. And then this turns it into them talking about how Rachel's like, oh yeah, Teresa and Jen were giving us the tea about, Marge and how we should watch out. And Melissa's like, see, this proves that Teresa inviting Marge over to make up was fake. And she was pretty savage, Melissa, in her confessional. She's like, I see Louie for who he is.
Oh,
he's
God.
Charming, but he's very manipulative. I could see him
saying... No, that's your husband, Melissa.
I could see him saying, be good to Margaret because we're going to need him to stop telling all the truth about us.
Yeah, and you know what? Melissa's actually right about that.
Elaborate.
Okay, she's not right. Sorry, she's not right about Louie necessarily. I don't necessarily think it was like Louie's plan. It could have been if it was Louie smart, and I give him credit for that actually. But if Louie and Teresa are correct that Margaret is better to have on your side than not on your side, and that's why they did it, I don't see what the big deal is. That's true. That's the same reason Melissa's friends with her. So what's the big deal? I didn't get why.
Ooh, look at that take.
Well, I'm just, thank you. Well, because Melissa's like, she 100% hates Margaret. That's a fact. Yeah, I agree. She doesn't like Margaret. She's keeping her close because she's afraid of her. And Louie probably sees that Margaret is scary too and will dig shit up. And that's the same reason that Melissa, Jackie, Dolores are all friends with her too. So what's the difference? You're all doing the same thing.
What a take. I love that.
Oh, thank you. No, but I really honestly didn't see why that was such a big deal. Like she was saying she was outing Teresa for something, which I didn't really think she was outing her. Teresa kind of admitted that. She even said it later. She's like, yeah, it's better to have her as a friend than an enemy. She straight up said that.
And even next week when they showed the teaser, she says it to Marge. She's like, yeah. That's what you do.
She says it right to her face. That's the problem that Melissa and Jackie and these other girls have, is they're always trying to call the other women on things. But Jen and Teresa, a lot of times they're like, yeah, so I said it. Like they'll just say it. And that's why they just don't align.
That does happen a lot.
Yeah, half of them are just like, I'm just going to be who I am, take it or leave it. And the other half are trying to kind of spin these personas. And it's, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, that was fun.
I also don't like how Melissa keeps poking at this Louie thing.
Yes, I agree.
I think she's gone. It's
like, what are we talking about? The video? Are we still talking about the video?
Are we still talking about that? And on top of that, it's like your husband has done just as bad, if not worse.
Let's linger on this for a little bit, because
I would love to.
Because the video came out. That's what you wanted Louie to talk about. There were other allegations too. Louie addressed all of them at the reunion. I was one of the people like, oh no, this is not good. But he addressed them. Let's talk about Joe Gorga.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of things that have come out about Joe Gorga that don't get brought up on the show ever.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get brought up at the reunion. Mm-hmm. Joe Gorga is Melissa as well. They're very protected. In Melissa's book that was her book, right?
It was her, Italian wife book or whatever that she wrote season 4, or I think it was season 4.
There's a very problematic segment where it's about pleasing your man, and if your man wants sex and you're not in the mood, it's suggested that the man just flips you over and forces you to have sex anyway.
It's not suggested. It says that.
It says that to do it. Just do that.
Yeah.
And so a lot of backlash occurred about it, basically saying that it is suggesting marital rape, and this never came out on the show.
There was an article in Jezebel about it.
Yep.
Critiquing how they are encouraging marital rape. The reason it never came out on the show is because no one on the show brought it up. And that's Teresa's point, that no one seems to want to accept. Just like last season. Well, all the news about Louie was already out there. Yes, it was already out there. It was in blogs. It was on smaller news sites or Page 6 or whatever you want to say. But it does get different legs when it is brought up on a show with 1 million viewers. That is just a fact. So although those stories were on Reddit and online about Louie, it is different when it gets brought up on camera. It grows it even more, and it becomes a storyline. And then it gets repeated and regurgitated, and it becomes bigger. That was what Teresa meant that she's not great at saying, because she's not good at articulating herself.
Yeah.
But that's my point, is Teresa and others could have brought up the Jezebel article and what Melissa said in her book when the next season started filming, but they didn't. Yes, it was already out there. So Melissa and Joe should have just had it on, but no one brought it up.
Also, all the shit about Joe not paying, Joe ripping off, like taking a picture of someone else's work and claiming it as his own.
Yep.
Wasn't
Stealing
that
from
like
Home
last
Depot.
season?
He's banned. Yeah.
Wait, I missed that one.
There was an article that came out. It was in like a smaller news site, like a more local one for New Jersey, that he stole lumber or something from Home Depot. And he's like banned from one of the New Jersey Home Depots.
What?
I will send it to you. It's real. It's from years ago. It's an older one, but still, I'm just saying
he's banned from Home Depot.
Yes,
that's such a random fact.
It's so random. But there's a lot of contractors and people who say they haven't been paid and they allege this, etc. I guess it has come on the show a couple times here and there, but it always gets like swept under the rug. And Teresa, and the only reason I'm bringing up Teresa is because she's his sister. She never gives it life. Right. And that's why I think she gets so upset with Joe and Melissa, because they do. And there's been so many things that could have been brought up. Right. Even things like Joe apparently losing their parents' house. That whole thing as well was never brought up or talked about, or the reason that he had to move in with Teresa and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's just been, even right now, there's a lot of stuff about Marge, about her house possibly being in foreclosure, and about her not being able to
make
payments or something like that. I saw an article recently. Again, I will try to find that and send it to you, but there's that, there's a lot of stuff going on. And again, not everyone is bringing them up because not everyone is doing the dirty game.
Yeah. Huh. I didn't know that about Marge.
I want to find it. TheSun.com, the US Sun, February 15th, 2022. RHONJ star Margaret Joseph sued for not paying $180K in settlement payments from New Jersey home foreclosures lawsuit.
Oh.
Yeah. And then there was in 2018 that her house was in foreclosure. They had a notice of $1.125 million for their mansion. So it's been like an ongoing thing.
Oh.
So again, like, I'm not even saying I care that much or that she needs to talk about it, but other cast members could have brought it up and they didn't. That's all I'm saying.
Wow, I'm shocked Jen doesn't do that.
Yes, me too. Maybe because she just knows Marge will talk her way out of it.
Wow. I'm shocked Jen doesn't do that. Okay,
I know, it is weird. It is weird. I feel like there's more to it that we're not getting.
Because that's such an easy one. It's like in an article and that's like documents you can easily track and validate.
Well, yeah, and the 2018 one is from people.com. Like it's not even like, it's not like it's like some little gossip site. It's People Magazine.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that shows some loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. See,
yeah.
See?
There's a lot going on behind the scenes with this show.
Yeah.
A lot.
All right, let's go to the softball game.
I was getting so many DMs the day that the softball game was filming.
Oh, me too.
From people who were there. They were sending me selfies and like telling me the way that the cast was acting towards the fans. And it was really interesting.
Agreed. The Sexy Husbands calendar came out pretty damn good.
It actually did. I know. I was so impressed.
Pretty surprised.
I know. It actually looked like,
a calendar.
Yeah. And it didn't, the pictures didn't look cheap.
Yeah, no, I was surprised. I was a little questionable when they were actually doing the shoot, but I was like,
I was so questionable when they were doing the shoot. I was scared.
Me too. I was like, okay, guys, this is
Evan's
great.
Picture is the best picture.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even think he's as hot as everybody thinks. I think
I get it.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I'm not like as into him as a lot of other people are. However, that picture was fantastic.
Yeah. So Marge starts immediately talking to Danielle about the real story about her trying to break up Melissa's marriage. But I liked how Danielle's like, sorry, but that would piss me the fuck off if you told me, I could get with a ball player, because what that says to me is you don't think my marriage is special. I'm really loving Danielle.
She is Carmela Soprano, except bubbly.
Totally. Oh my God.
If you put like Carmela Soprano on Staten Island and make everything pink, and like that's her. She's just hilarious and gorgeous. And I love her because she's another one who cannot help but just be herself.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. She's funny. She's extra. I think she's doing great.
That's a good point, because she's to Marge's face. She's just listening to Marge as Marge. And she's like, look, I'm friends with Jen and I'm friends, with Teresa. But this makes Marge realize she's like, oh, I'm good with Teresa. She's not saying anything about me, right? And she's not afraid. Danielle's like, well, she said, look, watch out for Marge.
Yeah. And she was very straight up about it.
And she says to Marge, like, why are you, like, you're coming in real hot. Like, she isn't afraid to say, like, I'm not loving what you're saying. I'm not loving this vibe. I'm not just going to placate you and make it seem like I'm cool with you, because I don't like anything you're doing. Jackie said Jackie's like, a true friend does not say keep your eyes open for that person. Jackie, I need you to shut up. I need you to be quiet.
I can't even explain how much of a Jackie fan I am not.
Go away.
I was one of the people that was, doing cartwheels when Jackie was made a friend of.
God, yeah.
I know she garnered a lot of sympathy with her.
I'm pissed at her because I was sympathetic, and then this
I
season,
was sympathetic too, and then she's acting like such a mean girl. She really is. I don't like this obsession with just hating on Danielle and hating on her clothes, and the way she looked her up and down. I really don't like that. I really don't like that.
You?
I think she's
fully threatened. Did you see all those interviews she did throughout the season, though, where she's like, I don't know where all this is coming from, you guys. I'm filming all the time. I've not been demoted.
That was her way of wishful thinking. Like, maybe if I say it out loud, I'll still be full time.
It's like, bitch, but now there's all these quotes of you saying you've not been demoted and then you've been demoted. You should have just not said anything. It's not
well, and then the other thing I thought was really weird was then she said she chose to step down because it was too hard with her recovery. But then recently she did an interview saying it was a big ego hit to not be full time. So which is it? Not
Girl.
That I never believe she quit on her own, because I really
no one does.
No one does, except for the very rare cases, but the vast majority do not. So I was like, this is weird. Yeah. I think she thought she would have secured a full-time spot because she shared so much about her eating disorder. And I think she was a little surprised by that, which a lot of people were, fair enough. But I also think producers saw that there was only so far she was willing to go with it in terms of sharing it.
Yeah.
And I think they saw, okay, we've taken the storyline as far as we can, and now it's kind of time to wrap it up. I think that was how they saw it.
Yeah.
Which I understand.
Yeah. Okay, Jen, Bill, they show up. Jen does not even acknowledge Marge. Then the Gorgas arrive first, and Louie and Teresa come in, and they play this confessional from Joe. It was so victim-y. He's like, I'm going to keep my distance because Teresa can switch and I have to defend myself.
Joe is the biggest victim that ever. He's worse than Melissa. Like,
how could he say that with the straight face?
There is footage, Joe, of you charging someone and banging on a table and pushing your wife out of the way so you can go fight people. Like,
we also just had a scene at the freaking guys' night where you were like, I'm gonna break your fucking balls. like a tantrum, like a toddler tantrum. Get out of here.
And the way that he ran away when she came in.
And I don't like that Gia had to go up to him. That's your niece. You should be the one leading by example. Like, at the end of the day, you should be the one going up to the kids and being like, hey guys, like, they shouldn't be breaking the ice. I thought that was all very childish of him, but you know, it's on track. It's on brand.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be the adult and he can't do it.
Exactly. All right, game time.
Okay.
I was surprised they actually did so well, but during the game, this is where Jen wins me over. The way she talks about her kids is so amazing. Olivia is a gem. She talks about how Olivia wants to be a love therapist. And I'm glad this is getting brought up because I clocked it last episode when Olivia said she wanted to be a love therapist. I was like, oh no. No. So I'm glad that we are going to dive into that and that Jen is like, because she's like, she always wanted to be like a Broadway star, which is amazing because that's so
I could totally see.
It's just like her uncle.
Yeah. Oh, you know? Yes. I didn't even think of that.
So let's go back to that. But I know. So it's so sad. But then we go over to the rest of the people, and Dolores talks about Paulie's not there because he's got to go in for surgery. And that makes Joe be like, but what about poor Frank and his feelings? And I'm like, all right, guys, we need to stop. And Frank's like, you know, I cried the other day because I called you and you're like, oh, yeah, you text me, call you later. And again, you're exactly right. Dolores is like, I'm going to smile and I'm not going to tell you what I want to tell you, which is what the fuck did I say about making this a fucking storyline? Yep. But we're on camera, so I'm going to say, Frank, you know, hey, forget about it.
You can see the seething rage inside of her, and she's just pressing it down like, okay, through those gritted teeth.
Her confessional, though, was so good. It was so Jersey. She goes, nothing changed after we divorced except for being intimate. He doesn't like change. So you can't make me feel bad for being in a relationship that I deserve. Fucking knock it off.
Exactly, Dolores. Well said. And I saw a tweet last night, which I will put in my roundup, but somebody said, imagine being a grown man and crying that your 50-year-old ex-wife has a boyfriend.
Oh my God.
Like, and I was like, when you put it like that. And you have a
girlfriend.
Exactly. I was like, and when you put it like that, it really just cuts it down to what it is. It's so immature. Let the woman live happily.
Bro.
Yeah, just really let the woman live. But I love the baseball game, by the way.
I was going to say they did a really good job like piecing that together to make it look like they were like killing it.
It was fun. And I saw a lot of people complaining like, oh, we used to have the posh fashion show. Now we have a softball game. I like the softball game. I think it's kind of fun.
Cute. It was cute. It was family oriented. It was for charity.
Can I just say something else about the Melissa Teresa thing? You know, when Melissa came up to Teresa in the locker room and was like, they were like, did you see the calendar? And like joking around. I was like, wow, even Melissa is like, and you know, I am not a Melissa fan, but even Melissa is at least small talking and chit chatting. And Joe is just over there in the corner, like this dark, gloomy cloud. Like he really is the problem. He really is. Like, at least I think Melissa a little bit more knows how to play it. So that she can keep her place on the show. Oh. I don't know if Joe can see past his own feelings.
Yeah, no, he is just, and you can see him not wanting Teresa to talk to his kids too. I'm like,
I hated that.
This is bad, you guys. This is too
bad.
Far. All right, so the final scene this is like the juicy stuff for me, because when it comes to the way Jen is figuring out how she wants to change the dynamics of her marriage, I'm obsessed with it. It's my favorite thing. So they go to see Dr. Judy Gerthen, I assume.
Mm-hmm. That woman has seen some stuff.
Okay,
wow.
We will get into when we start this section. Okay, so Bill is clearly very reluctant. But Jen convinced him because she's like, Olivia wants to be a love therapist. So we're in an emergency state here, buddy.
Do you think that Bill's reluctant because of therapy or because of the cameras?
You know, I don't know. I'm actually surprised he was willing to do it on camera. I could see him saying, I'll go, but I'm not filming it.
Yeah.
You know, I could see him being like, we're not making it a thing on camera. So I was shocked he was willing to do that.
But he looked not very happy. So
no, he did not. And Jen's thing is like, he thinks the key to a healthy relationship is to not talk about anything. And that's clear.
Oh, that's very clear.
Little Miss Dr. Judy comes in and when they cut to her in this big chair, little tiny lady, it's surrounded by like papers and pens all cluttered on her messy desk.
Like it's all been there for like 20 years collecting dust. It's crazy. Like she's straight out of Harry Potter. Like she's like one of the old professors, you know, and there's like an owl somewhere. It's just it's just wild. And I couldn't tell if it was because she was so small or if it was just that she was really slouched down in the chair. I'm like, is she just really getting comfy? Like, maybe I'll be like that when I'm her age. Just, you know, I don't have that much longer to live. I'm just going to sit how I want to sit. You know?
She was a classic.
She was hilarious.
Veteran therapist.
Yep. She's seen some things.
I was obsessed with this woman.
It was hilarious.
So Jen tells a story the way she's like, so I was pregnant with my fourth child. Bill cheated on me and I didn't tell anybody. I was like, oof. And so it turns out the way I didn't realize Olivia saw it on a TikTok.
I did. I remember that from last season.
I forgot.
Heartbreaking.
And oh my God. And so when Jen, in her confessional, she goes, Olivia said to me, Mommy, do all men cheat?
Oh.
Jen, I mean, I know she's not performing, but it was it was like,
it was.
This is beautiful. Like stunning.
Mm-hmm.
But Dr. Judy goes, and the thing you're most concerned about is the effect on the kids. I love this woman. She's so to the point. She's just trying to get there. She's trying to get there. And Jen says that Olivia now wants to be a love therapist. And that bothers me. And Dr. Judy goes, because you think that means it's affected her a lot. Just like to the point. She's just such a therapist.
She is.
Am obsessed. I love her.
Yeah, I hope she's back.
I want all of them to go to Dr. Judy.
Fire all the other therapists. Get rid of all the other ones. She's the new Bravo therapist.
It's just such a whack job. I
want her in the room with like Tom and Raquel and
Ooh, I want her to dissect Tom and Raquel for sure.
Oh my God, I would love
at least
it.
Raquel.
She would just cut the shit. Yeah, she would cut the shit and she would be in there.
God. But then, okay, so Bill gets his turn to talk, and he's like, she says, how do you feel that the kids now know about your infidelity? And he's like, okay, so mom is perfect and dad pushes, but now that they know about the infidelity, I can't push them. But some of the kids, they need the micromanagement to achieve the most that they can. Okay. I found that very fascinating. Fascinating.
Okay, why? Because I actually wasn't surprised.
Because his view of parenting, it's like to be the boss of them.
Oh, okay. I saw it as...
And not to be a caretaker. And no part of... He doesn't view... There's nothing nurturing about being a dad for him. It's only about, well, I how else am I going to parent them? Now they think I can't parent them. It's like, well, what about just loving them?
Yep. I think he's focused more on how they're going to be a reflection of him. So it's sort of like, I need to make sure my kids achieve as much as possible. Good grades, good schools, good jobs. I became a doctor so that I could give them the best life. So they have to take those opportunities, right? I think he really has that kind of viewpoint of it, but you're right. He doesn't think about the nurturing aspect
at all.
And I think that's the gender role thing for him. I think he thinks mom gives the nurturing, lovey-dovey stuff. Dad keeps you in line in terms of, discipline and that kind of thing. So having lost the discipline hand is going to be really tough for him.
This is when Jen starts cracking me up, though. She's like, you come home and you go. First she points out, she's like, I feel like an employee because it's like it's 5 kids to one participating parent, she says.
And the doctor said straight up, goes one participant, something like that, right?
Yeah. Like, why is that? She's like, you come home and you go straight to the pool house. When I see his car in the camera, I'm like, hello? What about a hello? And I feel like Dr. Judy was loving Jen. I feel like she
was
like, I'm obsessed with this woman. She was like, yes, I'm loving you.
Okay, but that kind of proves Marge right.
Yeah, I know.
The pool house thing, that I hated that. I was like, oh, Marge is watching this going, see, I told you we lived in the pool house.
Right?
Okay, sorry.
Dr. Judy points out, she's like, Bill is silent. And Jen can't wait to talk about that. She goes... He's always silent. When we went through the infidelity, he was silent. When I told him I was going to forgive him, he was silent. This is our life, Judy. We brush it under the rug. Now it's come to the point where I'm getting fed up, Judy. I love that she keeps saying
I know.
Judy.
I just love the fact that her name is Judy. Could we not pick a more perfect name? I think Bill still comes from that background of, as the man, I don't talk about my emotions. And I think he's still, even though he's on a show with cameras in a therapy session with Judy, he still is like, I think it's so hard for him. I'm not trying to make excuses.
Truly.
I'm saying like Jen is pulling teeth here.
She is.
Yeah.
But this is where this would make me fall in love with Jen last season. I already liked Jen, but last season I was like, oh my God. She says, I am not your subordinate here. I am your equal partner, and I need my partner to meet me halfway.
Yes, I love that.
Yes, fucking queen. Yes, you do.
And I think for a long time she
said that. She's like, for 20 years, I never complained. And you can imagine that. And here she is on this TV show, and she's like, listen, I'm worth it now. I'm my own person now, and I'm
bringing in a big Bravo paycheck.
Yep.
People love me. She's got fans.
Yes.
She's the strong personality on the show who says it like it is. And she did this amazing thing, like, talking to her children about her brother and making her mom open up with that conversation. Like, she has done so much.
Oh my God. Yeah.
She's given us so much. So I really, he does need to step it up because
I really hated when they tried to drag her for the stuff with her mom. And
I hated that.
When they tried to be like, you used your parents. I was like, no, she didn't. That was just what was going on in her life.
Yeah. And Melissa,
all of you do the same shit
too. Yeah. Melissa, you used your sister-in-law to get on the show. So let's not.
And also, wait, Melissa, you've used your daughter for a storyline for 3 different seasons at various points. So I don't really want to hear that.
The sex talk was one of the most cringy things I've ever had to watch. So there you go.
Dr. Judy goes, Bill, she feels lonely.
Oh, I love it.
I'm obsessed. Obsessed. So they're going to go to therapy again. I kind of don't know if I want more cameras there. I want them just to go to therapy. Just go to therapy.
I do too.
Because how much can you really talk about in front of a camera? Like, let Bill's already having a hard enough time. Just like go, tell us about it.
And there are things that need to be said, which I can understand don't need to be on camera. And I do want them to do better.
Me too.
And this is one of the reasons I get so mad at Marge too, is because she tries to act like, oh, you have a bad marriage. No, marriage is hills and valleys. Marriages are not constantly good. And this is why I think a lot of people are starting to get annoyed with like Melissa and Joe or with Marge and her marriage, because they do try to put this picture forward of like, our marriage is great all the time. And then even when Melissa and Joe do have a fight, it seems kind of put on. Yes, maybe I think Melissa and Joe do have some of those issues that they talked about, but the actual fights that we saw, to me, those were acting, right? To me, those were like pretend fights based on a real thing, if that makes any sense.
It felt staged a bit.
Yes. Whereas Joe and Marge, all they show is constantly being horny for each other and joking around. So at least Jen, to me, what I'm seeing with Jen seems authentic.
Yeah.
And, and as a married person, I will say, yeah, you go through those phases where you're not happy. And then you go through the phases where everything is good for a little bit and back and forth. Like that's life. Those are and you work through it. And a good marriage works through it because both people want to put that effort in every day. And I see that from Bill and Jen. As much as Bill annoys me sometimes, I do still really like him. He is likable. I don't know
what
why.
I just realized? I feel like Bill is super concerned with his clients and the way they see him.
Okay, that's possible.
And so I feel like suddenly it just hit me that he's so reserved because he's very aware of the cameras.
I do think he would loosen up if those weren't around.
Yeah.
When it comes to talking about personal stuff. Yeah. When it comes to partying and having fun, he can loosen up.
Because it's like they would think anyone would be like, that's funny. That's hilarious.
Right. And, he does it and he gets high fives all around. Right. But
yeah. But I just realized like, God, that's a lot for him to go film a therapy scene where he's got to own up to infidelity. And also there were like rumors that he was still being unfaithful and things happen. Yeah. Oh, God. Yes.
Oh, God.
And that there was like stuff still happening at like his practice and things.
Well, I hope not.
Yeah. That's shitty.
It is really shitty. I hope that as we watch, I hope we see an improvement. But here's the good thing about Jen is if there isn't an improvement, she's going to let us see it. As sad as that is, she is. And that's why she's a good housewife.
What is it that she said? She's like, show me that you care or I'm going to check out.
Exactly. And now she knows she can stand on her own if she needs to.
And what a bitchin' thing to say. That's right, Jen.
It
you
is.
Say it. You fucking say that
shit. It's such a great thing to say. And that's something the other ones, they just couldn't do. Like, I'm sorry, Jackie, Marge, and Melissa could never. End of story.
Could never.
They just
Next
could never.
time, Teresa's going to say to Jen, like, I'm really bummed that Joe and Melissa didn't ask me to stay at their shore house. At this point, like, we got to let it go because this is over. It's like we are not. They're not. It's not happening. It is not.
He didn't come
happening
to your housewarming.
We're done.
I think she's still. I think we're watching her in the phase of still lingering denial, but the acceptance is coming. Because I felt like her meeting with the therapist was almost her asking for permission to cut the cord. I think she feels an immense guilt for not fulfilling her parents' wishes of mending this relationship with her brother. And I think she's just looking for something or someone to tell her, it's okay. If you have to do it, it's okay.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
That's what I have felt watching it. And I think now off camera, the thing has been filmed, all that. She's been expressing that clearly, right? Yep. Through her podcast and whatnot.
We are going to see, and I knew this was coming. We're going to see them not believing Danielle's story about her brother. And I predicted, I'm like, they're going to pick this shit apart. She should have, she told Melissa.
Which was odd to me. I
right?
mean,
Didn't she
it's
tell
fine.
Melissa, or was that in her confessional?
No. She told Melissa.
She told her.
When she was out with Melissa, saying like, "Oh, Melissa's the my
that's
role
right.
model as a
She
business
did,
person."
See? Yeah.
Yes, and she
Which
even
was so weird.
It was so weird.
Why did she say that?
I don't know. And she even said to her, she goes, I think usually it's the wife that's the problem. And I was like, you just said that straight to Melissa's face.
Straight to her face.
And listen, let's be honest. Danielle probably has her own fault in her situation with her brother, but I can't make a judgment. I need to know more of the story. However, I hate that Melissa and Marge and people are going to jump on it as their storyline. It's not your storyline.
Yet again.
Please do this. Get your
Hey,
own
Marge, what's
thing.
your fucking storyline?
Exactly. What's going, like, besides
Ever.
Joe having to wipe your ass, which I did not need to know about.
Honestly.
I really didn't need to know
We can
that.
figure it out.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good. Okay. We're fucking good. All right. Well, again, I kept you for too long. I'm sorry I keep doing this.
I feel like it's my fault because I feel like I talk too much.
No, I talk too much. All my listeners are like, no, it's Emily's fault. All of them are going, nope, it's Emily's fault.
Well, if your listeners are anything like me, when I open it up and there's a new podcast and it's long, I'm like, yes.
I know. I actually feel the same way. When I see that it's under an hour, I'm like, oh, well, what am I going to do after that?
Exactly. I need something, I'm cleaning, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Exactly. Like I need it to go on as long as possible.
As long as possible. Because I'm like, well, then afterwards, what am I going to do? Okay, well, should I tell them where to find you? I guess it's not that hard. But
no, it's easy. Just find me on Instagram at Bravo and Botox. You can also find me on Twitter. Sometimes I live tweet the show, but I often find it hard to watch it live just because of schedules and all that. So usually I'll just, watch it and then collect some tweets within the next couple days and try to put them together on Instagram. But there is one thing I wanted to tell your listeners.
Ooh.
So this is not in relation to New Jersey, but in relation to Vanderpump Rules.
Ooh.
So, okay, you know how Andy's been teasing that, there's going to be stuff in the episode in tonight, Wednesday's episode that we're going to be like, oh my God, they must have recut for this, but they didn't. This was the original episode. Okay, I was kind of skeptical of that. So I posted on my story and I was like, is this just Andy saying that? And then it's just going to be the stuff that we already saw in the preview, where Raquel was like, oh, thank God you don't have a man.
That's what I thought too.
Me too. Because Andy always does that. Well, I got a DM from Miss Katie from Vanderpump Rules. And she said, no, there's something else. And I don't know what, but she just said, no, there's that, but there's other stuff. And you are going to be like, whoa. So I just wanted to tell everyone that. So there's my little insider thing.
Now, did you tag Katie or did she just
I
happen to see it?
She just happened to see it. So it was like one of those, I know. Amazing. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to save this for Emily's podcast.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Exclusive. You heard it here.
Yes, exclusive.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Oh, that just gave me chills. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
I will definitely be watching Vanderpump Live tonight.
It's too much. It's too exciting. It's too
good.
much.
It's too good.
Oh
I love
God.
it.
Okay, you guys. All right. Love you.
This was so fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Love you, mean it.
Bye.
I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, would you mind leaving me a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you are listening? If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget there's the super thanks option down at the bottom, the little button with the $ and the heart. And also I'm on buymeacoffee.com/SheSpeaksBravo if you want to buy me a little coffee or 2 or 5. And my Patreon, that is where I'm covering all of the classic Bravo jams. If you want to follow me over there and subscribe, link is in the description. And follow me on Instagram and TikTok at She Speaks Bravo. And whoever the guest was for today, all their information is always in the episode description. So if you want to follow them and check them out, check there for the info. And any of the sponsor codes that I mentioned in this episode will also be in the description. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I'll see you next time. Bye.